I said that we had an accuracy of a global accuracy of 91%. But what is interesting, and maybe for us as linguists and discourse analysis or textual analysis, is to have a look precisely at the accuracy according to the account, to the political personalities, and maybe being able to understand, and that's the goal of this work, to understand why models are doing wrong or right sometimes. Here you have this matrix that explains the accuracy according to each candidate. For example, for Benoît Hamon, we have 96% of accuracy. That means that it's really a high score of accuracy. Yes, here Jean-Luc Mélenchon is the best one, 98%. That means that almost every time we make the good attribution of Jean-Luc Mélenchon's tweet. But you have here the example of Emmanuel Macron. It's only 77. So that means that we have possibilities of mistakes, of errors when we have a tweet of Emmanuel Macron. And what is interesting, you can have a look at the other elements in the table. For example, about Emmanuel Macron, we have 5% of his tweets that can be attributed to Marine Le Pen, and so on. So we can have a look at the global mistakes of the tool. So that is interesting. And what we want to do after is to understand precisely which word or which part of the tweet is problematic, in fact. So we use this technique called deconvolution. In fact, when I presented really shortly the neural network, I said we have a first step of convolution. That means that the textual part are translated into numerical data, and it can be integrated into the neural network. And in the second hand, at the end of the process, we can try to have a look at the linguistic elements. And here you have a tweet from François Fillon. So here we have also the accuracy of the tweet. That means that the tool is sure at 98% that it is really François Fillon. But we can have a comparison of certain parts of the text. Here we choose nos policiers, nos gendarmes, et nos militaires. And here, yes, with François Fillon, we have the greatest frequency of nos policiers. So maybe this word is particularly representative of François Fillon, and the tool choose in part François Fillon as the author because of this word, and or maybe also with the combination of nos gendarmes. Here it is also the highest accuracy. But with nos militaires, for example, is not the one who use it the most, because here we can see it is Marine Le Pen. And also we can have doubts for certain words with Dupont-Aignan, because he also use a lot of nos policiers. So the philosophy of this approach, in fact, is yes, we want to have global and systematic analysis and have numbers to be able to evaluate the quality of our results, but it's not the end of the results. In fact, we are not satisfied just having these numbers, even if the numbers are high and the scores are very good. But the interest is to understand also how the system is functioning, and as discourse analyst, maybe comparing some features between some candidates. And here, okay, it's interesting. I have a kind of a lexical regularities linked to the security jobs, I can say, policier, gendarme, militaire, and the result of the tool give me the idea of comparing some features, because they are identified by the algorithm as key points in this context. Another example, here it is Marine Le Pen. j'assume de ne pas choisir entre l'efficacité économique et le progrès social. L'un n'existe pas sans l'autre. No, here it is a mistake because it is predicted as Marine Le Pen, but in fact, the true label is Emmanuel Macron. That means that it is a tweet of Emmanuel Macron, but the algorithm find it as Marine Le Pen. And so we can compare and we can have a look. Here we have Emmanuel Macron, and here we have Marine Le Pen. And in fact, the adjective economic has a very high frequency in Marine Le Pen corpus. But she has also a very specific use of ne pas, don't, let's say, and also choisir, and the same as Macron about progrès social. So in fact, in this tweet, she combines, this tweet combine three features very used also by Marine Le Pen. So the algorithm do wrong because it is a specific case where Macron, in fact, used some words most used by Marine Le Pen. But it is very interesting because you can see, yes, it is a confusion and it's a mistake. But in this case, for example, because Marine Le Pen is a representative of the far right of the French election, but this tweet is not particularly extreme or linked to the topic of extreme right with immigration, refugees, and so on. It is more something about the conciliation of two specificities like economy and social. And it's one topic of Emmanuel Macron at combining different things, and he was people were very funny when he always says en même temps, and he's qualified as an Iréniste. I don't know how we translate, but it's this way not to disturb anyone and to be able to conceal some point of view and the other en même temps. Okay, so but what is interesting, I think, in this approach of authorship attribution is this question of deconvolution, in fact, and the fact that we can go into corpora and observe how the algorithm are deciding things. Because okay, we are not computer scientists. We are interested in the scores of the tool, and it is useful for cases linked to courts or to judiciary affairs. But in our case, it's more important to be able to go back to corpora and to understand that. What we try to do also with the Jérémy Demange, the engineer I mentioned, is to build a kind of interface, a web interface. It's work in progress here, but something where people or maybe gendarmes or policers can go and put corpora inside and make files and make organize their corpora and also apply some analysis and export. You can see here reports, so we can produce maybe reports. I don't mean report like official reports destinated to the court, but a report of your results. Yes, in your corpus you have this kind of frequency, this kind of regularities, and so on. So that was authorship attribution. I say at the beginning it was the main idea I had when I answered to the invitation. And in the meantime, I tried to overcome difficulty and real challenge of this analysis of tweets and political tweets. I go fast because I have just maybe 5 or 10 minutes. It is the question of multimodality and the link between the text, which is the support of the work presented just before, and the question of images or videos. When you have this tweet, for example, here it's not a tweet of Emmanuel Macron, but it's about Emmanuel Macron. You have a quotation of what Emmanuel Macron says, but you also have a short video. You can see 17 seconds embedded into the tweet. And in fact, when we analyze political tweets or tweets in general or social networks, we have this problem of analyzing the multimedia contents. In general, we have two approaches. First one is extraction of data, and we work just on textual contents. That's what I did with authorship attribution. And we have a second, it's in general qualified as qualitative analysis, but I don't really agree about the distinction between quantitative and qualitative. But if we take that for the moment, okay, kind of qualitative, I mean, I analyze the tweet in the Twitter interface. I analyze the video itself and the text, and I analyze the combination of the both, but with a more manual and a qualitative approach. The goal of the work I'm making about that is the automatic extraction of information about these multimedia contents. And here, for this precise example, it's during the presidential debate between Emmanuel Macron and Marine Le Pen. It is the question of the facial expressions and the emotions that are transmitted by the candidates. Okay, go fast. So it's an extension of the previous works. That means that we address new challenges for CMC corpora and promising research areas, I think. And we have lots of progress in these areas of automatic extraction of emotions, for example, and here applied to political features. I go fast, but we have to talk lots of precautions about this question, because emotions are at the same time psychobiological and socio-cultural, and they have lots of specific elements that you have to take into account. So we have to combine cross-cultural approaches, and the automation is very complicated. And also, for a more social point of view, lots of work made about that are linked to emotion recognition, sometimes linked to terrorism or security issue, and these research are often paid by companies or institutions interested in detecting terrorists, and so they do sometimes quick conclusions between analysis and the conclusion we can have. So here I'm very careful too, but what I tried and I want to do is to analyze the way that some tools can help us to extract features and informations of multimedia contents to enrich, I can say, the textual dimension, and to add new information that we often lose when you use database and, for example, the Twitter API. I go very fast, but we have, I can't have the, yes, okay. We have some papers about what we call action units. That means that we can cut faces with some parts and expressions. Here, for example, we can have a look at Macron's face, have a look at his eyebrow, at his mouth, and to extract not here emotions, but expressions, what we call action units, having a look at his mouth, at his eyebrow, and so on. Okay, we have papers dealing with that, and the question is, can we use these action units to recognize some basic emotions? Like here we have a kind of benchmark of papers, of approaches linked to that. Ekman is one of the most known researchers about that, and we have the big six here, the 6 emotions like happiness, sadness, anger, and so on. I go just to give you an example. So we have tools that are in general open and we can use freely. The first one is OpenPose, but it's more interesting, I think, for the bodies and the movements. And another one is OpenFace, and is in fact is detecting some points on the faces, and it allows to do some tasks like clustering, detection, or classification. And when we use these tools to our Macron, this was made with a research engineer called Émeric Herrades. Here it's some specific example of the debate, very interesting. If you have the finger of Macron pointing on Marine Le Pen. Here, okay, so you can recognize some elements, and here with open face, you can see all the points detected by the tool. Another example, I will tell you how it is useful. Okay, and our example. So we have our example, La France mérite mieux que vous. We have Macron's face. Just to have a look, this text is recognized as Macron's text. And we will try to understand what Macron is expressing when he says this sentence. And if we compare the text and the expression, can we understand something else more or less? Okay, so we have our three analyze with the tools. First, I will analyze the text, and after I will analyze the face. Very quickly, I use online tools existing and based on BERT. I go fast, but you have links here, and I have a paper online that you can find. The first one is linked to the question of sentiment and the level of sentiment. And when we put our sentence, Madame Le Pen, La France mérite mieux que vous, the algorithm identify it with a high level of sentiment. When we use on a model trained with Allociné, it's something about evaluation of films and cultural products. We can have a look that this tweet is evaluated as positive, this text as positive. And last one, when we use a model, it's very short, sorry, I can't hear it, about hunger, sadness, and so on. I have the conclusion here. The sentence, yes, is identified as hunger with a score of in a big intensity. But the idea is to try to be able to understand what Macron's face is how his face is interesting. So we use these action units. So when Macron says this sentence, we have a measurement of action one that I can go back to just to remember, where is it? Sorry, up here. Action 1, action 2, action unit 3, 4, and so on. So we have all the visual elements here. And here we have that. And here at down and on the right, we have the combination, it was written here, of action unit 6, 7, 9, 22, 23, and 25, because in the literature, hunger is identified as the combination of these action units. So of course, we have to think of, is it clear and is it okay and can it works? But here it was just to make a test with that. And if we have a look here, in fact, yes, we can see that we have some levels of hunger in Macron's face. That means that the combination of this action unit express during this part sometimes the hunger, especially here, here, and here, for example. So as we did for the tweets and to go back to corpora, we can go back to corpora of pictures and have a look at Macron's face. So we can try to understand if Macron looks really angry when he says that to Marine Le Pen. So here it's just a test, and it's a more methodological approach to combine this multimodal dimension and the textual dimension. But what is interesting is that when we analyze the text, the algorithm and maybe our own personal analysis contribute to identify something wrong against Marine Le Pen. That means that Macron make an accusation of Marine Le Pen, is quite angry against her, and he wants to express himself against what she says. And when we analyze his face, it is in coherence, it is linked with this textual intention. So it's maybe a confirmation of what we analyze with the textual aspects. But for future works, what can be interesting is when we have different informations with the text and the video, of course. If we want to analyze irony or sarcasm, maybe one way to do that can be the calculation of the difference between what the face express and what the text express. So if I say something very angry with a large smile, for example, I have two different informations, something with happiness and something with anger. And so it's a way for us to identify that it is maybe ironic or sarcastic. So the result of this part is that the automatic analysis of the candidate's face reflects a certain anger, and this result met our initial objective of introducing a multimodal dimension to the automated analysis of political message on Twitter. And about the previous work I made about building CMC corpora, and in particular corpora of tweets, here it's a tweet in a TEI standard. That means that we have XML elements indicating what are the elements. Here you have the hashtag, the medium, the number of favorites. And my idea is that maybe we can integrate into textual corpora the emotion reflected into the multimedia content of the tweet. So I don't know how we can do that automatically, but the idea in my dream can be this extraction of multimodal informations and integrating that into textual corpora. So if I work on my corpus of tweets, I can have the information of what has been integrated into the real tweet, into his real content. So that's something we have to work on. But here it's just one example made by hand, but in the idea is that I want to do and to be able to do. So to conclude and to give maybe some perspectives, in fact, what I think, if I want to realize the two parts of my talk, is to combine, in fact, textual and digital, I can say, data or multimodal data. On the first hand, stilometry provides information and features about the content and the ways that people express. But when we have a look at the specific messages and the messages into the Twitter interface and what they get and what content they are incorporated into, it encourages the extension of discourse analysis to multimodality and transmodality. Thank you very much. I don't have a slide of thank you, but
thank you. Thank you very much. We just have 5 minutes for questions. Please, anybody who would like to ask something? There is one question from Ekaterina, I think. And the question through the chat, can you please elaborate about your future goal?
Okay, it's a great questions. Now we are in the pre-presidential campaign in France, and we have the elections in next May. And what we try to do is to build online platforms allowing citizens to analyze on real time the debates and the election. We did that with textual contents in the last presidential election. We did that with video and audiovisual contents for the European elections. We had a player and a search engine to extract specific parts of the videos when someone says a word. And we try to do graphs about the relationship between words. For the municipal elections, we build a kind of gamification of that, what's called Politiquiz. We use Corpora to do questions and to interest younger users. So the goal is also to develop this kind of online platforms, but as you precise it in your questions, with the combination of the modalities, because for the moment we have separation between the textual analysis and the multimodal analysis. And as I try to show it, but it's just one example, using, for example, videos or multimedia content is not only extracting parts and pointing some specific parts of speeches which are linked to a subject or a topic, but it's also the way that people express or the way that people are acting or what they are doing with their hands and so on. And it gives more information about the linguistic dimensions. So for me, I come from the more traditional discourse analysis, so I'm just discovering multimodality. And for me, it's for the moment, informations we can add to the linguistic and discursive analysis. So it's, I can say, it's a way to use multimodality to add specificities and informations to be more precise and to enrich our corpora with these elements. So I'm not an interactionist, for example. I'm not specialized in the question of interactions, but I'm interested in taking into account specificities of this interaction the most I can. And yeah. Thank you.
Are there other questions? Alors peut-être, moi je vais vous poser une question en français,
Oui, bien sûr.
si je peux. Il me semble que à l'état actuel de vos recherches, en fait là pour l'instant, vous essayez de trouver le moyen de, pour l'instant, hein, je ne sais pas si vous êtes arrivé déjà à obtenir des résultats à partir de l'application de ces outils, ou si vous êtes plutôt pour l'instant en train de chercher la formule, disons, enfin, de perfectionner ces instruments, de trouver la manière de les adapter à vos objectifs peut-être. À quel point vous en êtes?
Oui, oui. Vous voulez que je réponde en français ou en anglais?
Maybe in English.
In English, yeah.
Même en français.
Ok. How you like. Oui, alors effectivement, c'est très exploratoire pour l'instant. En fait, j'ai aussi pour habitude, c'est quelque chose que j'aime bien pour toutes les conférences ou les colloques, de présenter aussi des choses qui sont un peu en cours et pas toujours, voilà, donc c'est un peu quelque chose que j'aime bien parce que ça permet d'échanger. Disons que la méthodologie, on va dire, de acquérir la vidéo, la traiter, l'analyser, récupérer, ça c'est relativement acquis. C'est plutôt ensuite sur comment combiner finalement ces informations qu'on va obtenir, déjà les vérifier ou valider leur qualité, parce que ce que j'ai dit, c'est que c'est pas un sujet du tout trivial, que c'est la question de la reconnaissance des émotions, etc. Voilà, donc il y a toute une partie à consolider là-dessus. Et ensuite, c'est comment effectivement le relier en tant qu'information supplémentaire, comme une modalité en fait de plus que le texte, que le son éventuel, etc. Donc Et ça s'inscrit en fait de manière plus générale, par contre, dans la suite de mes travaux sur cette question finalement voilà, de l'écologie des corpus et malgré tout dans une approche outillée et automatisée. C'est-à-dire qu'en fait, il y a souvent une sorte d'opposition qui est décrite dans la littérature comme, je disais tout à l'heure, qualitative ou quantitative, ou en tout cas extraction et vs contextualisation, par exemple, qui serait que si on travaille avec des outils informatisés et selon une certaine extraction, on ne peut pas considérer les données dans leur écologie et dans leur environnement natif, etc. Moi, ce que j'essaye de faire, justement, c'est de réconcilier, entre guillemets, ces deux approches en faisant en sorte que le processus d'extraction de l'environnement euh, ne perde en fait le moins d'informants sémiotiques, sémiolinguistiques, etc. possible. Donc ça veut dire que toutes les couches, justement. Alors, quand j'ai commencé sur Twitter, c'était plus simple parce qu'en fait, il y avait beaucoup moins de contenu multimédia, il n'y avait pas les smartphones, la carte 4G, etc. Et donc, du coup, là, j'ai montré un peu l'arborescence TEI tout à l'heure d'un tweet. On récupérait en fait les métadonnées qui étaient la géolocalisation si on l'avait, le contexte temporel, donc le jour, l'heure, etc., le nombre de retweets, le nombre de favoris, le type de matériel sur lequel c'était produit, si c'était un iPhone, etc. Et donc, avec ça, on avait toutes les métadonnées qui, normalement, nous aidaient, en tout cas, nous permettaient de recontextualiser le tweet dans son contexte d'interaction. Avec, voilà, de plus en plus de contenu multimédia, ben, ça oblige effectivement, pareil, si on a des images, il faudrait pouvoir catégoriser automatiquement. Je ne vais pas dire qu'on va reconnaître automatiquement une image avec un moteur de recherche image, mais pouvoir être capable d'avoir des tags ou des catégories d'images qui nous diraient ce message, il est produit avec une image de foule ou une image d'un plateau télé ou une image d'un meeting, etc. Pour qu'on ait au moins une information supplémentaires qui nous permettent de recontextualiser des choses qui ne sont pas extraites automatiquement par l'API. Euh, voilà. Mais pour répondre à la question, voilà, c'est toujours un peu working progress, c'est-à-dire qu'il y a des choses qui marchent, qu'on garde et qu'on consolide au fur et à mesure. Et puis, bah, il y a toujours des nouvelles choses en fait qu'on essaye d'ajouter pour enrichir les plateformes et puis les analyses qu'on propose.
Merci. Bon, il est déjà 15 heures en fait. Oui. Donc, on vous remercie vraiment beaucoup parce que c'était très, très, très enrichissant.
Bon, tant mieux, merci à vous.
Merci. Hein. Et